The blind date was empty until twin girls in glittery sneakers walked in and said, "My daddy's sorry he's late." She thought it was another cruel joke, that hope was something other people got to keep. Ava Morgan had been staring at that empty chair for 17 minutes, each tick of the clock echoing in her chest like a countdown to humiliation. This was supposed to be different. A blind date set up by someone she trusted, with a man who supposedly needed someone real. But real people get stood up. Real people sit alone in the corner booth of the restaurant where they work, pretending the candles aren't burning lower with every passing minute. Just as she reached for her purse, ready to salvage what dignity she had left, the door chimed. And in marched two little girls, no older than 7, dressed in matching navy coats, scanning the room with the kind of serious determination usually reserved for secret agents. Then one of them pointed, right at her. Before Ava could even process what was happening, they were standing at her table, breathless and bold, delivering a message that would shatter every assumption she'd made about this night. They weren't supposed to be there. Their billionaire father, the man who was supposed to be sitting across from her, had no idea they'd come. And what these two fierce little girls were about to reveal would turn a lonely table for one into the beginning of something none of them saw coming. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world you're tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. And please do subscribe to Life in Stories for more emotional stories like this. Ava Morgan had served love 1,000 times, but she'd never tasted it herself. Tonight, she sat in booth 7 of Rosalie's, the same restaurant where she'd spent 6 years balancing trays and swallowing dreams, wearing her only elegant dress, the black one with the modest neckline that she'd bought on clearance 3 years ago for a wedding she'd attended alone. She'd paired it with nude heels that pinched and lipstick she'd applied twice because her hands kept shaking. 8:17 p.m. 17 minutes late. Around her, the Friday night crowd hummed with warmth. Couples leaned across candlelit tables, fingers intertwined. Laughter bubbled from corner booths. Champagne glasses clinked. Ava had orchestrated these moments countless times. Recommended the salmon, suggested the creme brulee, smiled knowingly when men fumbled with engagement ring boxes hidden in jacket pockets. But she'd never been the one waiting, never been the one worth showing up for. The irony wasn't lost on her. Here she was, in her workplace shrine to romance, dressed like someone who belonged in this world, pretending she didn't smell like kitchen grease under the borrowed perfume. Her phone sat face up on the white tablecloth. No messages, no calls, just the screensaver photo of her cat, Mr. Bingley, judging her life choices. This was a mistake, she thought, fingers curling around the napkin in her lap. Gina had been so insistent. Ava, trust me, Franklin Vale is different. He's not some snobby trust fund brat. He actually works. He actually cares. And he specifically asked for someone real. Real. The word had glowed like a promise. Franklin Vale, the billionaire hotel magnate whose face graced magazine covers and charity gala announcements. 38. Widowed. Father of twin girls. A man who built empires and donated wings to hospitals. And apparently a man who didn't show up. Ava checked her reflection in the window, seeing only her own doubts staring back. What had she been thinking? That a man like him would want a woman like her? A waitress who split bills with her roommate and bought grocery store wine? 8:22, 22 minutes. The couple at table 9 fed each other tiramisu. The woman at table 4 received flowers. Even old Mr. Chen, dining alone with his newspaper, looked more dignified than she felt. Ava's throat tightened. She reached for her purse, the familiar sting of humiliation crawling up her spine. Better to leave now. Better to slip out before Gina's shift started and she'd have to explain. The door chimed. Ava's heart lurched, then sank. Not him. Two little girls stood in the entrance, framed by the golden streetlights behind them. They wore matching navy coats over dresses, their dark curls bouncing as they scanned the restaurant with laser focus. One wore glittery purple sneakers, the other pink. They looked like they'd walked straight out of a storybook, or escaped from one. The taller girl pointed directly at Ava. "Her! That's her, right, Lila?" The smaller twin nodded solemnly, adjusting the small purse on her shoulder. "Definitely her." Before Ava could form a coherent thought, they marched across the restaurant, past the hostess stand, past the startled busboy, past every table of normal Friday night diners, and stopped directly in front of booth 7. "Excuse me," said the taller one, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. "Are you Miss Ava Morgan?" Ava blinked. Yes? Good." The girl's shoulders relaxed slightly. "My daddy's sorry he's late." The words hung in the air like a record scratch. "Your..." Ava's brain stuttered. "Your daddy?" "Yes." The girl straightened proudly. "Franklin Vale." The world tilted. Franklin Vale, the billionaire who'd stood her up. These were his daughters. The smaller twin, Lila apparently, stepped forward, her voice softer but no less determined. "He had an emergency with the gala setup. He was going to call, but we told him we'd handle it." "You'd handle it?" Ava repeated weakly. "We didn't want you to think he forgot," said the taller girl, presumably Ivy. "Daddy's really bad at explaining things when he's stressed. So we came instead." Ava stared at them, her mind racing. "You came here? Alone? Does he know you're—" "Well," Lila began carefully. "We persuaded Leo," Ivy interjected. "Leo?" "Our driver." "Of course, their driver." Ava pressed her napkin to her lips, caught between hysteria and disbelief. "Your driver brought you to your father's blind date?" "Technically," Lila said, fidgeting with her coat button. "We told him we were getting dessert." A laugh escaped Ava before she could stop it, sharp and startled and desperately needed. Ivy's face brightened. "See? She's nice. I told you she'd be nice." "I'm Ivy," the taller girl announced, extending her small hand like a businesswoman. "This is Lila. Daddy said you like art and coffee. Do you also like chocolate cake?" Yes?" "Perfect." Ivy slid into the booth across from her without invitation, Lila following suit. "We already ordered 3 slices. We told Marco it was a birthday emergency." "A birthday?" "Don't worry," Lila assured her gently. "We tip really well." Ava sat frozen, her abandoned date transformed into something she couldn't begin to categorize. 2 7-year-old girls in glittery sneakers had just hijacked her evening, and somehow, impossibly, the loneliness that had been suffocating her moments ago lifted like morning fog. Ivy folded her hands on the table, suddenly serious. "So, Miss Ava, our daddy's heart has been sad for a very long time. We need to know. Are you the kind of person who gives up after 17 minutes? Ava's breath caught. Lila leaned forward, eyes wide and hopeful. "Or are you the kind who stays for chocolate cake?" Within 10 minutes, Booth 7 had transformed from a monument to rejection into something that looked suspiciously like joy. 3 slices of chocolate cake sat on mismatched plates because Ivy had insisted each one needed personality, flanked by 2 towering hot chocolates crowned with whipped cream mountains. Ava's untouched water glass had been relegated to the edge of the table, replaced by what Lila called proper celebration beverages. "You have to drink it like this," Ivy demonstrated, plunging her face directly into the whipped cream and emerging with a magnificent white mustache. "Otherwise it doesn't count." "Doesn't count as what?" Ava asked, unable to suppress her smile. "As fun." Ivy said this like it was obvious, like fun had rules that everyone should know. Lila took a more delicate approach, using her spoon to transfer small portions of cream to her upper lip. Ivy's method is messier, but statistically more effective for mustache volume. Statistically? Ava raised an eyebrow. Lila reads a lot, Ivy explained, spinning her fork like a baton. She uses big words when she's nervous. I'm not nervous, Lila protested softly. You said statistically about whipped cream. That's just being precise. Ava watched them bicker, something warm and unexpected unfurling in her chest. She couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed like this, freely, without measuring the sound, without wondering if she was taking up too much space. So, Ivy said, abandoning her fork to attack the cake with her hands, Daddy builds hotels. But not boring ones. He puts libraries in them, and gardens on the roofs. And once he built a whole playground inside one because a kid in a wheelchair told him hotels were boring. He did all that? Ava asked. Yep. But then he comes home and stares at his laptop like it insulted him. Ivy's face scrunched in imitation, furrowed brows, pursed lips. Like this, for hours. Lila giggled, then added quietly, He forgets to eat dinner when he's working. We have to bring him sandwiches. Cut into triangles, Ivy specified. He says rectangles taste different. We think he's making that up, but we do it anyway. Ava felt her smile soften. He sounds dedicated. He's sad, Lila said simply, her small voice cutting through the moment like a pin through a balloon. The laughter dimmed. Ivy's hand stilled on her fork. Our mama died 2 years ago, Ivy said, matter of fact in the way children are when they've said something too many times. She was a pianist, a really famous one. People still play her recordings on the radio sometimes. Ava's throat tightened. I'm so sorry. Everyone says that, Ivy continued, not unkindly. But most people say it and then look away. Like if they don't see us being sad, it doesn't count. Daddy doesn't look away, Lila added, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. But he doesn't look at anything else either. He just works and stares and forgets to smile. Ava knew that look. She'd worn it herself. The 1,000-yard stare of someone moving through life on muscle memory alone. She'd seen it in the mirror after her mother passed, after months of hospital rooms and hospice care and learning how to grieve someone while they were still breathing. Grief is heavy, Ava said quietly. Sometimes people carry it so long they forget they're allowed to put it down. Lila's eyes widened slightly. That's exactly what it's like. Ivy leaned forward, suddenly intense. Do you know what that feels like? For real? Ava hesitated, then nodded. My mom died 3 years ago. Cancer. I took care of her until... Her voice caught. Until I couldn't anymore. The twins went very still. So you understand, Lila whispered, about the quietness after. Yeah, Ava breathed. I understand. For a moment, the restaurant noise faded. The clinking silverware, the low conversations, the jazz piano trickling through the speakers. There was only this booth, these 3 people, and the shared language of loss. Then Ivy reached across the table and grabbed Ava's hand. That's why you're perfect, she declared. Perfect for what? For Daddy. Ivy squeezed her fingers. We found your picture on his phone. Gina sent it to him last week. You were holding a tray of muffins and smiling, like really smiling, not fake smiling, and Daddy looked at it for a whole minute. A whole minute, Lila confirmed. We timed it. 63 seconds, actually. And then, Ivy continued, her voice rising with excitement, his eyebrows did the thing. The thing? The happy shape, Lila demonstrated, raising her own eyebrows slightly. He hasn't made that shape in forever. Ava's heart stumbled. He smiled at my picture? And then he sighed, Ivy said. The good kind of sigh, not the tired kind. So we knew. Lila's expression was solemn, certain. We knew you were the one who could make him remember. Remember what? That he's allowed to be happy again? The words landed like a benediction. Ava stared at these two small girls, dressed in their formal coats, faces smeared with chocolate and whipped cream, eyes burning with fierce, protective love for their father. This wasn't mischief. This wasn't 7-year-olds playing matchmaker for laughs. This was a rescue mission. We tried everything, Ivy admitted, slumping back against the booth. We made him go to parties. We invited his friends over. She glanced at Lila. We even tried crying strategically, Lila confessed, cheeks pinking. We told Leo that Daddy was forgetting how to be our daddy. That he needed help. That maybe if someone reminded him what smiling felt like. Leo cried too, Ivy added. Then he drove us here. But we told him we were just getting dessert. He's probably panicking right now, Lila said, pulling out a small phone covered in kitten stickers. We should text him soon. Ava's vision blurred. She'd spent 17 minutes drowning in humiliation, convinced she was unworthy of being chosen. But these girls, these brave, heartbroken, hope-filled girls, had chosen her, not because she was glamorous or sophisticated or worthy by the world's standards, but because she smiled at muffins, because she knew what grief tasted like, because somewhere in a photograph, she'd looked like someone who still believed in joy. You didn't have to do this, Ava whispered. Yes, we did, Ivy said fiercely. You don't know what it's like. Watching someone you love disappear even though they're still standing right there. But Ava did know. She'd watched her mother fade. She'd watched herself fade after. We just want him to smile again, Lila said, her voice breaking slightly. We want our daddy back. Ava reached across the table, taking both their small hands in hers. Then I guess we'd better make sure I'm still here when he arrives. The twins' faces lit up like Christmas morning. Really? Ivy breathed. Really? Ava confirmed. But first, we're going to need more cake. The restaurant door didn't open. It burst. Franklin Vale entered like a storm given human form, rain-soaked suit clinging to broad shoulders, dark hair disheveled, chest heaving like he'd run the last 3 blocks. His eyes swept the dining room with the frantic intensity of a man searching for something precious he'd lost. Then he found them. Lila. Ivy. His voice cracked across the space, not angry, but saturated with relief and disbelief. What are you? How did you? The twins froze mid-giggle, chocolate-covered forks suspended in air like criminals caught mid-heist. Hi, Daddy, Lila offered weakly. We can explain, Ivy added, though her tone suggested she absolutely could not. Franklin crossed the restaurant in 6 long strides, water dripping from his coat onto the polished floor. He knelt beside the booth, hands framing each small face, eyes scanning them like he was checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Are you safe? Did Leo? Where is Leo? Parking, Ivy said quickly. We texted him. He's not mad. Well, he's a little mad. A little very mad, Lila corrected. Franklin exhaled, dragging a hand down his face. Then his gaze shifted and locked on Ava. She watched recognition dawn in his eyes, watched him register the candles, the half-eaten cake, the scene his daughters had orchestrated, watched mortification bloom across features that magazines had called devastatingly handsome, but which currently just looked devastated. Oh, God, he breathed. You're Ava Morgan? I am, she said, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. And you're the disaster in a suit I was supposed to meet 43 minutes ago. His mouth opened, closed. There was a gala emergency, the equipment, I was going to call. Your representatives handled it, Ava gestured to the twins. Very professionally, I might add. Ivy beamed. We saved your date, Daddy. You're welcome. Franklin closed his eyes, and for a moment Ava thought he might actually laugh or cry or both. When he opened them again, something vulnerable flickered there, something that looked like hope dragged reluctantly into daylight. "I'm so sorry," he said quietly. "This isn't... I never meant..." "Sit down before you flood the restaurant," Ava interrupted gently, sliding over to make room. "We ordered extra cake. Apparently it's a birthday emergency." "It's not anyone's birthday," Franklin said automatically, even as he slid into the booth. "Exactly," Ivy said. "That's what made it an emergency. Despite everything, the humiliation, the chaos, the sheer absurdity." Ava laughed. And after a beat, Franklin did too. It started as a chuckle, then grew into something fuller, richer, like a muscle remembering how to work. "You have whipped cream," he told Lila, reaching over to wipe her chin with his thumb. "It's a mustache," she corrected. "For fun." "Ava taught us the rules," Ivy added solemnly. Franklin glanced at Ava, eyebrows raised. "There are rules?" "Strict ones," Ava confirmed, fighting a smile. "Your daughters are very committed to proper celebration protocol." "They're committed to making my life complicated," Franklin muttered, but his hand rested protectively on Ivy's shoulder. "We prefer interesting," Ivy said. Marco appeared with coffee, apparently already briefed on the situation, and Franklin wrapped his hands around the mug like a lifeline. Up close, Ava could see the exhaustion carved into his features, shadows under his eyes, tension in his jaw, the particular weariness of someone carrying too much for too long. "The gala equipment actually did break," he said after a moment. "The lighting rig collapsed." No one was hurt, thank God, but it was chaos. I lost track of time, and when I finally checked my phone, he swallowed. 17 missed calls, 3 from Leo completely panicked. "We told him it was under control," Lila said quietly. "Nothing about this is under control," Franklin countered, but there was no heat in it, just tired affection. "We wanted to help," Ivy insisted. "You looked so nervous getting ready." "You changed your tie 4 times. 5, Lila corrected. "The blue one twice." Franklin's ears reddened. "It's been a while since I..." He stopped, seeming to realize he was confessing in front of a stranger. His eyes found Ava's. "I'm not good at this anymore. Dating, showing up, being normal." The honesty gutted her. No polished billionaire charm, no practiced apology, just raw admission. "Normal is overrated," Ava said softly. "Your daughters staged an intervention at my workplace. I'd say we're well past normal." "They told you about..." He hesitated. "About their mother?" Ava nodded. "And about your eyebrows doing the happy shape when you looked at my picture." Franklin dropped his head into his hands. "I'm going to ground them until they're 30. "No, you're not," both twins said in unison. "You smiled at her muffin picture for 63 seconds, Ivy added. "We have evidence." "That's surveillance," Franklin protested weakly. "That's love," Lila corrected, then yawned enormously. The fight seemed to drain out of Franklin then. He looked at his daughters, their drooping eyelids, their chocolate-smeared cheeks, their fierce little faces, and something in him softened completely. "Come here," he murmured, and they burrowed into his sides like they'd done it 1,000 times. Ivy's head found his shoulder, Lila curled against his chest. Ava watched the 3 of them fit together like puzzle pieces, and her heart did something dangerous. This wasn't the sterile image of billionaire fatherhood she'd imagined. This was real, messy and exhausted and utterly devoted. "They sang your praises," she offered quietly. "Told me about the rooftop gardens, the triangular sandwiches, the bedtime songs you make up." Franklin's laugh was muffled against Ivy's hair. "The songs are terrible. I can't carry a tune." "They're weird," Ivy mumbled, half asleep now. "But good weird." "The best weird," Lila agreed, eyes already closed. Silence settled over the booth, not awkward, but full. The restaurant hummed around them. Candles flickered. Rain drummed against windows. Franklin looked at Ava over his daughters' heads, and something passed between them. An understanding. A recognition of two people who'd learned how to survive, but forgotten how to live. "It's been a long time," he said finally, "since anyone made them laugh like that. Since anyone—" He trailed off, jaw working. "Thank you. For staying. For not—" "Running away, screaming," Ava supplied. "Yeah, that," she smiled. "Your daughters are very persuasive, and the cake was excellent." "They told me you understand," he continued, voice dropping lower. "About losing someone. About the after." Ava's throat tightened. "I do." "Then you know why I'm bad at this. Why showing up feels like a betrayal," Ava finished softly. "Like moving forward means leaving them behind." His eyes widened. "Yes, exactly that." "But it doesn't," Ava said, surprised by her own conviction. "It just means carrying them differently." Franklin stared at her like she'd said something in a language he'd forgotten he spoke. Lila stirred against his chest. "Daddy?" "Yeah. Sweetheart? Did we do good?" He pressed a kiss to her curls. "You did terrifyingly good." "Does that mean Ava gets a real date?" Ivy mumbled. Franklin's gaze locked on Ava's. "Would you? I mean, if you're willing, could we try this again? Properly? A Plan B date? Just us. Well-timed, pre-scheduled, no small masterminds." Ava's heart hammered. Every logical part of her screamed caution. But looking at this rain-soaked man holding his sleeping daughters, still showing up despite his fear, "Yes," she heard herself say, "let's try Plan B." His smile nearly stopped her heart. 2 weeks after the chocolate cake incident, as it had become known among Rosalie's staff, Ava was wiping down tables during the slow Wednesday evening shift when the door chimed. She looked up and froze. Franklin Vale stood in the entrance, but not the rain-soaked disaster from before. This version wore jeans and a soft gray Henley, his hair slightly mussed, looking more human than any magazine spread had ever captured. Behind him, Ivy and Lila clutched a large cardboard box between them, struggling under its weight but grinning like they'd won the lottery. "Delivery for Miss Ava Morgan," Ivy announced formally. "Special order," Lila added. "Very important." Ava set down her cleaning rag, heart already doing dangerous things. "What's this?" Franklin stepped forward, hands shoved in his pockets in a gesture that seemed almost nervous. "Plan B. We promised you a do-over." The twins hauled the box to the nearest table and threw open the flaps with theatrical flair. Inside, construction paper crowns, a jumbo pack of crayons, a container of sprinkles, and 2 boxes of pancake mix. "We're making breakfast for dinner," Ivy declared. "Daddy's pancakes are architecturally questionable," Lila warned, "but emotionally significant." That's one way to put it," Franklin said, color rising in his cheeks. "I may own hotels, but my pancakes could legitimately close them down. Health code violations across the board." Ava laughed, that same unexpected warmth from 2 weeks ago flooding back. "You drove across town to make terrible pancakes in my restaurant?" "I drove across town to keep a promise," Franklin corrected softly. "The twins insisted on supervision." "We're quality control," Ivy said seriously. "And moral support," Lila added. "Mostly moral support." Ava glanced at her manager, who was watching from behind the counter with barely concealed amusement. He waved her off with a knowing smile. "Kitchen's yours until closing," he called. "Try not to burn the place down, Vale." "No promises," Franklin said, but he was looking at Ava when he said it. The restaurant kitchen after hours felt like a secret world. All stainless steel and quiet hum of refrigerators, the dinner rush chaos replaced by intimate stillness. Ava tied on an apron while Franklin studied the pancake mix instructions like they were contract negotiations. "It says, gently fold," he muttered. "What does that even mean?" "It means don't murder the batter," Ava said, moving beside him. "Here." Like this. She guided his hand, and the simple touch sent electricity up her arm. He looked down at her, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes, smell his cologne, something cedar and clean. "I'm a disaster at this," he admitted quietly. "At pancakes or dating?" "Both. Neither. Everything." He laughed, the sound self-deprecating. "I built a company from the ground up, but put me in front of someone I actually care about, and I—" He stopped. The word hung between them. Care. "The batter's ready," Ava said softly, even though her pulse was screaming. The twins had claimed a corner booth, busy drawing elaborate crowns on construction paper and arguing about whether unicorns could technically be considered royalty, which left Ava and Franklin alone at the griddle, pouring misshapen circles that immediately began to burn. "See?" Franklin gestured helplessly. "Disasters." "They're rustic," Ava countered, flipping one that was definitely more abstract art than breakfast food. "They're honest," he said, and something in his tone made her look up. He wasn't watching the pancakes anymore. He was watching her. "I've been terrified," Franklin said suddenly. "For 2 years, I've been terrified of this. Of feeling anything that isn't grief or responsibility. Of wanting something for myself instead of just surviving for them." He nodded toward his daughters. "But then you smiled at my girls like they weren't an inconvenience. Like their chaos was charming. And Franklin, I haven't stopped thinking about you," he continued, words tumbling out like he'd been holding them underwater. "About the way you didn't run. About how you looked at me like I was allowed to be broken and still worth showing up for." Ava's eyes burned. "You are worth showing up for." "I'm late for everything," he said, voice cracking. "Meetings, phone calls, my own life. But I swear to you, Ava, I will never be late for you again. Whatever this is, whatever it becomes, you won't wait alone." The pancake on the griddle began smoking. Neither of them moved. "You were 17 minutes late that first night," Ava whispered, "and it was the best thing that ever happened to me." Franklin cupped her face with flour-dusted hands. "Can I kiss you?" Can I?" She answered by closing the distance. The kiss tasted like hope and burned pancakes and second chances. His hands trembled against her jaw. Her fingers curled into his shirt. Somewhere behind them, the twins erupted into giggles and applause. "Finally!" Ivy shouted. "We've been waiting forever." 2 weeks isn't forever," Lila corrected, but she was clapping too. Franklin pulled back, laughing against Ava's lips. "We have an audience." "We always will," Ava said, and meant it as a promise. 6 months dissolved like sugar in tea, sweet and gradual and transforming everything. Now Ava stood in booth 7 again, the booth that had witnessed her loneliness transform into belonging. She wore a simple white dress with a soft blue ribbon, the kind of dress that didn't need a magazine spread to feel beautiful. The restaurant had closed early. Fairy lights glittered overhead. The staff peeked from the kitchen doorway, grinning like conspirators, and Franklin knelt where she'd once sat waiting, a small velvet box in his trembling hands. "I was 17 minutes late that night," he said, voice shaking. 17 minutes that almost cost me everything, but you waited. You stayed long enough for 2 stubborn little girls to drag hope through that door." Ivy and Lila stood nearby, hands clasped, practically vibrating with excitement. "I've spent 2 years being late to my own life," Franklin continued. "Late to healing, late to hoping, late to believing I deserved this." He opened the box, revealing a ring that caught the fairy lights and threw rainbows. "But I'm here now, and I'm asking, begging, for the chance to spend the rest of my life being early for you." Ava's vision blurred. "Franklin, marry me," he whispered. "Marry us. Let me burn pancakes in your kitchen for the next 50 years. Let my daughters color on your walls. Let me prove that sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for." "She's gonna say yes, right?" Ivy stage whispered to Lila. "She better," Lila whispered back. "We already planned the wedding." Ava laughed through tears, looking at this man who'd learned to hope again, at these girls who'd become her heartbeat. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." Franklin's hands shook as he slid the ring onto her finger. Then he stood, pulling her into his arms while the twins crashed into them both, shrieking with joy. The kitchen staff erupted in applause. Someone popped champagne. Magic bloomed in Booth 7 like it had always been waiting. Outside, the city lights shimmered through rain-streaked windows. Inside, a family that had assembled itself from broken pieces held each other tight. Sometimes love doesn't arrive on time. Sometimes it's carried in by glittery sneakers and stubborn hope, and two 7-year-olds who refuse to let their daddy's heart stay lonely. Sometimes the table you serve becomes the table where your forever begins. And sometimes, just sometimes, being 17 minutes late is exactly the right time to arrive.
Thank you for letting this story into your heart. If it touched you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Drop a comment telling us your favorite moment. We read every single one. Until next time, keep believing in beautiful beginnings. Heart